Hey you guys, sorry about the bad lighting. I want to talk about depression in this video. I appreciate you guys watching. I kind of have to keep it down. I'm in a weird place right now. I'm sharing an apartment with my mom temporarily, and we're kind of right on top of each other. I'm in a middle room. The only bathroom is through my room, and so I just trying to get through, and it's hard to have privacy to film and concentrate, and that's another thing I want to get into in a video. I've talked about it before. I feel like that's that energy, and on a spiritual level, people who follow that kind of thing will get what I mean. That's that energy. I feel like there's always an energy that wants to stop people who have some kind of purpose, some kind of vision that they are really adamant about working on. And I've been like this for several years. I mean, wanting to put together something, even really before it was really popular on social media. Before that, I was either wanting to write a book. I wrote songs. I always kind of had, I didn't know exactly what it was going to be, but I always had these goals inside, these visions of wanting to put out a certain energy and share a certain amount of information, knowledge, awareness. And there's always been something to come and fucking distract me from it or get in my way. And I'm telling you, I've talked about this before in the spiritual gang stalking videos. And there are other people who talk about this too. They talk about it in terms of chosen ones. I don't often use that term, but I understand what it means. And yeah, I've heard a lot of people talk about this. How it'll just be like everyday little fucking annoyances. Whatever that energy is, it moves throughout different people to get to you. It'll work through your loved ones. It'll work through whatever the frick that it has to. I see it happening all the time. We see people talking about it all the time. A lot of the readers, a lot of the psychic mediums, a lot of the people talking about spiritual stuff, their phone will fuck up in the middle of filming, or battery will go dead, or signal will go out, or somebody will walk in. That shit has been happening to me. Like, I'm serious. In the last year, it has gotten so much worse. And I feel like it's kind of half and half. And then I'm going to get into depression for a minute, okay? I feel like it's been kind of half and half. Half of it has been right on point as it should be. Like I'm right where I should be. And I am learning my spiritual lessons, and I'm coming through what I need to come through. And the other half of it feels like there's always that dark energy. Part of it feels like deliberately I've been divinely protected and put in a sort of spiritual quarantine. But at the same time, that shit doesn't feel good. Even if it is right for your life. Even if it is ultimately going to lead to a breakthrough to your purpose. Even if ultimately it is just a small part of your larger growth and process, at the same time, it still feels like shit. It feels like the end of the world, okay? It's wipeout. It's the worst. And at the same time, it also feels like, yes, there are always those darker energies right on your heels, trying to keep you, not only do you feel like you're in a spiritual quarantine of sorts and going through your dark night. I'm going through the absolute wipeout, the end all be all of all dark nights. This year is what I've been going through. Not only does that go on, and you're trying to find your way through that and hang on, but yeah, at the same time, you have to deal with negative ass dark entities and energies coming after you constantly, wanting to keep you down, like wanting you to not really see it in the positive spiritual sense, wanting you to stay depressed, wanting you to stay lethargic, unmotivated, lose your self-esteem, lose your vision, lose all your inspiration. All of that happened to me this year. Okay, it started with a terrible breakup with a narcissistic person. Very long story of this person who was in my life. Actually ended more almost like taking care of a child than it was having a partner, but I'll get into that another day. But yeah, so for people that are into that kind of spiritual stuff, I will be talking. I want to get a lot more into my spiritual side on the channel very soon, coming up. Not just psychological stuff, okay? I've got a lot of content I need to get filmed. But I do appreciate you guys being here, and my videos are just for educational purposes, spreading awareness, my personal experiences. Always do your own research. But depression is a part of this. Massive depression. And the more you're depressed, I was listening to Pete Sapper the other day. It's a Chosen 144 channel. Love his work. I talk about it all the time because for the last couple of years, specifically his stuff, because he talks about stuff that, yeah, a lot of the concepts I had somewhat heard or understood before, but he talks about a lot of stuff that you won't hear anywhere else, that they're not breaking it down like he does. So I've really stuck to a lot of his work in the last 2 years because specific to what I was actually going through and needing to come through and understand. And he was talking about this very thing, spiritual quarantine. One of the videos I watched of his was about the Blu-ray star seeds, and he was talking about how people who have been through traumatic past have to heal and bring all the fragments of themselves back together. How we fragment, our soul fragments in order to protect our ego when we're abused and traumatized as kids. And he talked about how you have to heal that and bring it all back together. And he talked about how there can be holes in the aura. He was talking about entity attachments. And a lot of us, you know, it's all the same. People can say it however they want to say it. A demon or a bad energy following me or... but it is what it is. And he talked about how these holes get in the aura, in our aura, and these entities can get in, these negative, dark thought forms, and attach onto us, and just all of it. Take our self-esteem, take our goals, take our motivation from us, our light. And there are things that create holes in the aura. Remaining unhealed is one of those things. Not being able to heal our childhood wounds. Staying in depression. I notice it big time when I'm depressed. That's why the other half of this video I'm going to get into some thoughts on depression. Why staying depressed too long scares the shit out of me. And it makes me feel terribly guilty. But we have to have a balance. I'll get into it in a minute. But yeah, he talked about a lot of that stuff. And it made perfect sense. Depression, staying depressed too long, drugs and alcohol, unhealed childhood wounds, anything that lowers our freaking frequency, that keeps us in lower vibration, can create holes in the aura, the way I understand it. And that is how they get in. Through our unhealed childhood wounds, traumas, substance abuse, depression, anything that keeps us fucking low, man. That's why it is crucial that we stay high frequency. And I know people in my life that have been around me in the past that didn't understand why I was like that. They didn't understand why I fought so hard to stay high frequency. they did not know what was always on my heels. And I couldn't really explain it to them. These would be people that I would think were my friends or people close to me that would literally be hating on me because I would work so hard to stay motivated and grateful and high frequency and high vibing and stank face ass people. You know, a lot of the times people that did not want to do their fucking work. All they wanted to do was fucking self-medicate and stay in victim mentality, pity themselves, no vision, no goals, no motivation. They didn't want to work on themselves, and they want to sit up and look at everybody else like, who do you think you are for healing? Who do you think you are, little miss pretentious, little miss high and mighty? I lived with a guy for years that I absolutely loved, that I had absolutely nothing but beautiful, adoring, unconditional love for. I did nothing but support him, adore him, cook for him, wash his clothes, give him massages, give him comfort, give him nurturing, listen to him, try to help him get back to his feet. Long story. He lost a kid. It was a nightmare. But that's where I was with it. And yeah, I had a tough side too. I wasn't fucking perfect. Shit, yeah. I had boundaries, absolutely. Not that I got anywhere with him because he was always drunk and stepping on my boundaries and, but but that guy turned out to have a personality disorder, covert narcissist, avoidance disorder, probably several different things going on at once. I know they diagnosed him with an avoidance disorder of some type. Covert narcissistic, behind closed doors, codependent, substance abuse out the ass, unhealed trauma. And come to find out, this man was hating me for loving him, resenting my high vibration, resenting the relationship that I had with spirit, with my own, the fucking law unto myself. When all else failed, I trusted me. You have to have that. I developed that as a fucking traumatized kid, having to protect myself, read energy, and in the fucking streets. You see, that's part of why I like to share my pain, my struggle as I'm going through it. A lot of people would be embarrassed to do it. Like, damn, look at her. She's always sharing some old crap going on in her life. It's because no one would ever fucking believe it. Because of the person I am and the way that I heal, the way that I bounce back when I do fucking bounce back. So high frequency, and the way I take energy and transmute it, it might take me a fucking while. It might take me a while. It gets me sometimes, and it really gets me down. But the way I have always fought so hard to take adversity and pain as much as they could give me. And boy, and no, it wasn't that I wanted it that way. It was in my wiring. I've had to do a lot of work on myself. But what I'm saying is, I've always been that person. I'm still going to come out on top. I'm still going to come out loving myself. I'm still going to come out transmuting the negativity that I feel towards you and what you did to me. I'm going to come out using all of that energy eventually in the most useful, productive way. And I'm still going to find my way back to my high vibrational self and my connection to source and my connection to spirit. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it. And boy, let me tell you, that has really pissed some people off. It pissed off my partner of 6 years, the narcissist. He could not stand my connection to spirit. That faith that I had in myself or my higher power, call it what you want, my own intuition, At the end of the day, the final word was there. Not what he said, not what they say, not what anybody else fucking thinks. It's going to be what I feel. Okay? And so he hated that shit. He hated that he almost had me for years. He had me under his control. He used a lot of coercion and manipulation and self-pity, and he just milked it for all it was worth. But that one part of me he could not fucking get. He tried so hard to break me and get full control of my life and my mind. And he had a lot of control in my life. I mean, it went pretty far. I lost a lot believing in this person. But eventually, we had to go apart. And I'll tell that story one day of how awful it was, how horrible it was. But eventually, I knew that I had to do something. Because it was never going to get any better. And he was out to destroy my energy. He was out to harvest every drop of it and leave me for dead, which is what he basically ended up doing. Except I kind of had to initiate the boundary setting, and that drove him to go on and make the final move. And boy, he did, in a cutthroat ass way, when he finally realized, I'm not going to be able to break her. I'm not going to be able to fully have her the way I want her, which is under my sick, insecure control as an alcoholic person who does nothing, who doesn't want to work on himself, who doesn't even want to work, who wants to lay up all day drunk and use someone as a fucking servant for sex, for his sex addiction. He was completely covered in demons and dark entities. And I was getting tired of connecting to that. It was getting into me. That is why my life ended up so fucking horrible after being involved with him. But that's a story for another day. Choices, choices. I chose to walk through it. I did it, and I have to be responsible, for the choices I made. But, just telling you guys, it's out there, okay? And I feel like there's a lot of us right now that are having to fight so hard for our lives, for our mental, for our sanity, for our visions, for our goals. It's like a spiritual war. And it's like the more you have that about you, that brightness, that light, that ability to alchemize, to transmute some of the darkest, some of the most painful of energies and adversities. And that's what I do. Eventually. Now it's getting harder and harder as I get older. These energies are getting trickier and trickier, heavier and heavier, trying to get in deeper and deeper so that it will kill you, so that it will make it to where you can't come back from it. That's what it freaking wants, okay? And I'll get into that deeper in another video about how I've seen it. I've seen it behind this. I can see energy behind the energy. I can read energy behind the energy. And yeah, it's working through a lot of our loved ones. It's all around us. So, but anyway, I don't know if I mentioned I'm right up on top of my mom. We're in this little apartment. I'm staying with her temporarily, and it's hard to film. But let's get into depression for a minute before I go. I felt like it was important to have this put this out there. And I've got some other content to go ahead and get started working on for you guys. I've got to finish. Oh, there's so much I've got to do. But depression. Okay, I told you guys how depression, of course, means we're in lower vibration. And it can be hard. There's clinical depression. There's depression that is circumstantial. Mine is mostly circumstantial. I also have it once a month with my cycle. That's another thing I need to get some videos up about. Because I have the disorder, the premenstrual dysmorphic disorder. And it is hell. Absolute hell every month. It's basically like having a personality disorder for about 7 or 8 days a month. And I go into deep, dark depressions. But I don't like to stay there, okay? Now let me talk about that balance. I don't avoid dark human emotion. I don't avoid the shadow. I feel like, I've recently been learning about integrating the shadow side, sort of embracing it. I've always kind of been that way. I embrace my darkness, my darker thoughts, my darker feelings. I use them where I can in a useful way, or express them in a certain way. Not necessarily deny that I have them, or pretend I don't have them, or act like they don't exist, or never acknowledge them. That's not healthy. But, I don't like to go too far either way. I'll put it that way. I personally, this may not resonate with you. It may not be for everyone. I personally need balance. I need light and dark. I will not deny my darkness, the darker parts of myself. Now, that is not abusive. Now, I would never allow it to go into abusive territory. That is not the kind of darkness I'm talking about. But we all have some darker sides, okay? But here's the thing. A lot of people don't know that about me when they see me, when they encounter me moving around all high vibrational and driven and motivated and upbeat and, oh, this is beautiful and that's beautiful and this is beautiful and, oh my God, I just love this. And that's my fucking way of coping. Hell no, I'm not in denial. I can't stand people who are in fucking denial. People who look the other way when there's something serious going on, like the narcissist. I can't stand that. I am not that way. I address my fucking issues, and I will address any conflict that someone needs to approach me with. I don't do that stupid cartoon out shit, gaslight, denial shit. I'm a realist all day, but that is my high frequency. That is what pulls my fucking frequency up. And people have tried to take that from me for years, and they will. They will hate on you for it. That is my way of pulling my frequency up. And just like Pete Sapper said on his channel the other day at the Chosen 144, the way out of the entity attachments, when the dark energies and the dark entities have gotten in your holes in your aura, or they've gotten on you through depression or substance abuse or unhealed wound or a breakup, or you're feeling really vulnerable and low. Perhaps a partner passed it to you. You've been around toxic people too long. However you got it. The way to get rid of the dark energy attachment, the entity attachment to your